priest beneath the blood-stained church night settled over the quiet town of Magalang like a suffocating shroud. The wind whispered through bamboo groves, bending them until they creaked like old bones. Lanterns flickered weakly along dirt paths, but their light could not reach the darker places, the spaces where shadows waited patiently. Inside the ancient stone walls of the parish church, a man knelt in prayer. His name was Juan Severino Mallari. By daylight, he was a respected priest serving the faithful of Pampanga during the early 1800s. Parishioners greeted him with bowed heads and whispered blessings. They trusted him with their confessions, their secrets, and their souls. But when darkness crept over the fields and the bells fell silent, something inside Father Mallari awakened. Something hungry. The church smelled of melted wax and damp stone. Mallari's lips moved in silent prayer, but his thoughts twisted elsewhere. He could hear them again. The voices. They crawled through his mind, like insects scratching inside his skull. Save her. Free her. Blood is the cure. He squeezed his eyes shut, digging his fingernails into the wooden pew. My mother, he whispered. Far away in Manila, his mother lay ill. The physicians had given up. No medicine worked. No prayer had been answered. But the voices had offered another remedy, a darker one. They told him her sickness was not natural. They told him it was a curse. And curses, the voices insisted, demanded sacrifice. At first, Mallari resisted. He was a servant of God, a shepherd of souls. But the voices never stopped. They followed him through every mass, every confession, every sleepless night. They whispered from the corners of his room and from the hollow echoes of the church halls. One night, when the moon hung low and red over the fields, Mallari finally listened. A young woman had come to the rectory, seeking confession. She was trembling, her voice barely louder than the rustling leaves outside. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Mallari watched her through the lattice of the confessional. The voices screamed inside his skull. She is the first. His breath slowed. His hands trembled. He told her to come closer. Moments later, her scream was swallowed by the thick church walls. When it was over, Mallari collapsed beside the lifeless body, shaking violently. The voices fell silent. For the first time in months, there was peace. But peace never lasts. Days passed. Then the voices returned, louder, angrier. It was not enough, so Mallari obeyed again. And again, and again. The people of Magalang began to notice strange things. Women disappeared. Farmers spoke of shadows moving through the fields at night. Dogs howled whenever the church bell rang after dark. Some claimed they saw Father Mallari wandering the countryside with a lantern long after midnight, his cassock stained with something darker than mud. But no one dared accuse a priest, not at first. Years passed like this, years soaked in terror, hidden beneath holy rituals. Mallari continued his sermons by day. God sees all, he would say calmly from the pulpit. Nothing remains hidden from the Lord. The congregation listened in silence, unaware that the man delivering the sermon might have buried bodies beneath the very ground they stood on. Some nights, he wandered into the forest, carrying a shovel. Other nights, he returned to the church basement, where the stone floor concealed terrible secrets. The whispers told him each life brought his mother closer to salvation, and Mallari believed them, because believing was easier than facing what he had become. Then one night, the voices changed. They no longer whispered. They laughed. Mallory woke suddenly in his chamber, drenched in sweat. The candle beside his bed had burned down to a thin thread of wax. From somewhere deep within the church, he heard a sound. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Descending the stairs. His heart pounded. No one should have been there. He grabbed his lantern and crept into the hallway. Shadows stretched across the walls like grasping hands. The footsteps continued below. Step, step, step. Mallari descended the stone staircase, leading to the basement. The air grew colder with each step. Then he saw it. The ground beneath the church floor had been disturbed. Fresh soil. As if something beneath it had moved. A faint whisper echoed through the darkness. Not the voices he knew. These were different. These were the voices of the dead. Hundreds of them. Father. The lantern flickered violently. The soil began to shift. Mallari stumbled backward as the earth cracked open. From the darkness below came pale hands clawing upward. Fingers skeletal and dirt-covered. Faces emerged from the soil. Women. Dozens of them. Their hollow eyes fixed on him. You promised salvation, they murmured. The lantern shattered against the stone floor, plunging the basement into darkness. Mallory screamed. Not long after, rumors spread across Pampanga. Authorities finally arrested the priest. People whispered about the terrible discoveries beneath the church. Bones. So many bones. Some claim that, before his capture, Mallari had been found alone in the basement, laughing hysterically while clawing at the dirt with his bare hands. Others swore they heard him speaking to someone unseen. Perhaps the voices, or perhaps the spirits of the women he had murdered. Even today, locals say the church in Magalang is never truly silent at night. When the wind blows through the bamboo fields, faint whispers drift toward the old stone walls. And sometimes, if the night is dark enough and the air heavy with rain, you might hear a priest's voice trembling in the darkness, praying, begging, or perhaps confessing, because some sins are too terrible to stay buried.